Hey guys, Fire here with another video. Today I'm going to be doing the mastery update. So I'm actually going to go through and tell you all the kind of templates that I'm using for my mastery pages right now. I'm going to be going through mid, AD, support and also a Bruiser page as well. This is kind of just a template for you so you can kind of take them, tweak them in your own games and adjust them to your own playstyle. So the first one we're going to have a look at then is the APs. This is the kind of standard AP page that I'm using at the moment. I get double-edged sword because it's basically just like taking the extra damage is fine because as an AP carry you shouldn't really be taking damage anyway, so it doesn't really make too much difference. You want to do as much damage as possible. Cooldown reduction is amazing on mid laners, so you really need this. Then you got the ability power per level and ability power. This executioner here is good, increases damage dealt to champions below 50% health, so I really recommend getting 3 points in here. This one is kind of a little bit different. So dangerous game, killing a champion restores 5% missing health and mana. You don't necessarily have to have this mastery point, but I think it's actually really good because when you're trading kills early with people, it will stop you dying when you kill people. If you get the kill first, it can actually really help. Now, if you don't want this point, that's fine. You could put it on something like Butcher here instead. This basic attack, it basically lets you CS easier because you do more damage to minions. The one thing I will say about Feast here is I really don't like this point. One of the reasons is because I don't take this because I feel my ability to CS is okay anyway, but this really doesn't become effective. It's only effective early, and if you put it into like cost effective wise, and this is just very basic, it's not scaling levels, so it doesn't quite work out to this, but you'd need 75 minions killed to get the same health back as a health potion. Now a health potion costs 35 gold, and 75 minions you'll probably CS that about 10 minutes into the game. So it takes you 10 minutes into the game to make this mastery point worth 35 gold. Now this is obviously a really basic kind of working out. It's not really the most accurate way of doing it, but this kind of just puts it into terms of why I don't think is actually that good. Okay, so then we have the penetration. Obviously this is really important to have so your abilities do more damage. Arcane Blade is just basic attacks also deal bonus magic damage equal to 5% of your AP, so that's going to be really good when you're trading autos with people early and have it increased damage. Now this is where it kind of changes, so I'll go through, I've got another page set up where I can show you the utility side, but the defensive side is really good because as I said before, that 9 points into a tree is kind of your early game. Now your early game here, it reduces incoming damage, from basic champion attacks. Now that you'll trade a lot of basic attacks in lane anyway, so this is a really good ability to have early. Now this is kind of reducing all damage, again is good to have, and recovery just 2 health per fire. The reason you take this really is because these two are pretty poop, like increases bonus armor and magic resistance. You don't really build armor or magic resistance, so that's kind of useless, and this is obviously for the jungling. Now this is where it's really good to go into defense. You get the extra 36 health and then you get 3% maximum health. So this is really effective early, and it will help you if you're going to try and play aggressive and kill someone. Now if you wanted to go slightly more utility side for mana regen, then you would take the Phase Walker here, increase recall, then you take the meditation. The strength of the spirit is what I prefer here for the extra health regen for conjunction with your mana regen. Then you take Summoner's Insight, which is the Summoner spell cooldown. I think this is mandatory if you're going to go 9 points into utility. And then you can also take the Runic Affiliation. Now, there is another way of doing this. You could not take this, and you could take the Alchemist, which is the increased duration of potions, and you can make that into biscuits. Now, that is definitely a viable option. This is just really a template page for when I feel that I need the blue buff to last as long as possible. So let's move on to AD very quickly, and notice this is very similar, almost mirrored to the AP page. Now the defense is exactly the same, so I'm not really going to run through why I think it's important, except for the fact that if you have these 9 points in defense, but your enemy AD doesn't, then you have a huge advantage over them. Like the extra 36 health is almost like half of a basic attack, just over half probably with defense taken into account. So that's actually really strong for trading. The extra 3% maximum health will just make you a bit tankier overall as well. So double-edged sword again, it's your job as an AD not to take damage. So even though you take more, you should be avoiding damage as an AD carry. So that's why you take this. You can either take 5% attack speed here, or you can take the 5% cooldown reduction. Either is fine. If your ability caster someone like Ezreal, Corki, Graves, I'd recommend you take actually sorcery in here instead of the attack speed. Now brute force, obviously attack damage per level, kind of self-explanatory. Same with martial mastery. Here again, execution is really good because as an AD, you're going to be fighting a lot and you need to kill people. This is especially effective against tanky targets as well because the percentage is going to mean more. A dangerous game again when you're trading early. This isn't as important on an AD as I think as an AP. So you could just take this dangerous game out and you could put it into Butcher to make it easier to CS early. Now, obviously here you get bonus attack damage by 5%. Really important, you must take this. Devastating Strikes again, you must take this under an AD. And then the Havoc. Now this Frenzy is good on auto-attacking champions like Caitlyn, Vayne, Tristana because you need critical strike to make your autos do a lot of damage. When you're playing someone like Corki, Ezreal maybe, even someone like Graves, so not Graves not so much, so just ability casters, you might not take this because the 5% attack speed is really good when you crit, but if you're using your abilities a lot, you're not really going to crit that many times. Now this spell weaving I will make a point of here because this and this here, blade weaving, so I'll hover over so you can read them, but it basically means when you attack with an ability, when you attack with an auto attack, your abilities will do more, and when you attack with an ability, your auto attacks will do more when you get both of them together. Now this is really good on someone like Ezreal or Corki, so for those two, what you could do is you could take Frenzy out, you could take Dangerous Game out, and suddenly put the points into these two. With Corki, you're not really going to crit anyway, and you're not really, this isn't as important as an AD, so that would definitely be viable to stick the 2 points in there and probably better option. Now, this is the page that I have for an AD caster that I think someone maybe like Varus or Caitlyn who don't really want to all-in fight but kind of want to poke you down first. So this side is obviously exactly the same, but over here I take 1 point into Veteran Scars and I put the next 3 points into Mana Regen per 5. Now, I personally don't actually like doing this, but I wanted to give you the option because some of you I know struggle with mana management in lane, so this is just a good option for you. I really just prefer having this page, and then I would just buy mana potions. I know that sounds kind of silly, mana potions are slightly wasted on ADs, but I actually think buying a couple of mana potions, like buy 1 mana pot every time you back in the early game, is actually better than going into utility. So I'd rather take this page and buy mana potions. Now let me just go over to the support. Support is something that can be really varied, so this is just a template for you. I really do suggest that, especially with this page, you kind of tweak it to how you feel, but this is what my best guess, if I had to have 1 page for every support, this is the one I would choose. So again, taking into defense because you need to be tanky early game so that you can survive your trades, especially when you're fighting early, the extra health is going to be really important. Now over here I get the increased movement speed so you can run around the map more, but if you're playing someone like Sona or Nami maybe, you would take the meditation instead. This increased cast range of trinkets by 15% is okay, and it's pretty good for things like the scouting totem and also the clearing one, the sweeping lens. So that's the reason I get this, because I don't expect you to be taking the warding totem on a support. Then we go to look down, you take the summoner spell, cooldown, because this is really important. It's probably the best thing in utility. Then you have the alchemist, increased duration of potions and elixirs, and then the biscuit. Now the reason I get this is because a lot of supports have mana issues. Now you can just buy a couple of health potions on a support with this mastery, and that will kind of fulfill your mana management issues as well. The other reason is because this isn't particularly good because you don't spam mana items on a support, and you don't need the runic affinity either. So this is kind of the best option out of the ones given. Then we go down, this is very standard, obviously, greed, gold per 10, and then you have each scavenger one, so every time your lane ally kills a minion, you get the gold as well. Then you have the wealth, starting gold plus 40, and the bandit. Now, I don't think this is a great mastery. I'm going to be honest and say you could probably put this into something else, but I don't think there's actually anything in utility when you go this far down that's worth it. So it basically grants gold either on basic attack or when you get a kill or assist. So it's okay, and it does help if you're trading autos, but the problem is at the moment in the current meta, supports and ADs have become very aggressive. So when you go in for an auto attack trade, you're most likely going to get battered in the face as well. So it's kind of not really worth it. Now going back up here, we have inspiration. This is a really good mastery, and you definitely want to take this on every support. I would go as far to say you need to go down this far in utility, because if you don't, you will fall behind as a support. Now this is because you get 10 experience every 10 seconds, 1 year at a higher level ally champion. So when you come out of lane, you'll often have been roaming and you'll have a lane ally as well. So with your AD, you're obviously sharing that experience, which means you will be a lower level than your solo laners. When you take roaming into account as well, you're probably a level or two behind your AD. So this is going to let you catch up mid game, and that will give you the like spell levels, ranks in your spells, sorry. Like level 16 is really important on a support as well, and it was often the case before this patch that supports would never get to level 16. So hopefully with this mastery you actually will start to. Now if we look down here, this is the other thing that I think is really good in this tree, because 5% cooldown reduction, and also it reduces the cooldown of activated items by 10%. There's a lot more active items in the game for supports right now, so when you put these, like everything together, these two together, the cooldown reduction and the reduction in item cooldown, it's actually really good. And finally, we have the Wanderer, 5% movement speed when out of combat. This is purely so you can roam around the map quicker, you can spend less time out of lane when you're warding, and it's just, obviously when you go 21 points in, you might as well pick this up. Finally, I'm going to move on to a Bruiser. Now, this is a very standard page, and you can also adapt this to jungling. I think that there is the most variation in what you can actually pick in the defensive tree along with utility, because there are so many different things that are really situational. So I'll run through what I think you should use in each situation, but this is a very rough template for you guys. So in 9 in offense, I would pretty much always get the cooldown reduction, because bruisers have quite long cooldowns, and the damage, pretty much their damage comes from cooldowns. They don't really auto attack as much. They, like if you take someone like Renekton, you don't want to fight without your cooldowns. So this cooldown reduction really helps. Now I do take Butcher here because, well, in reality, basically, there's nothing else for me to put it in. I don't want the double-edged sword because as a tank, you don't want to be taking more damage, and I don't really need the attack speed either. This exposed weakness, damaging an enemy with a spell, you're normally playing a Bruiser, so you're not going to be using that many spells. The Brute Force is just the AD, so this is like a Renekton page. If you're playing someone like, I don't know, a Kennen maybe, you would go into here, though Kennen you'd probably go 20 or 21 into offense and then 9 into defense. Anyway, going into defense though, champion auto attacks blocking them, that's going to be good, and this overall damage, obviously these are pretty much two of the best things in this top 2 row. I then take the enchanted armor because you actually will be building armor and magic resist on tanks, so this is actually going to start to make a big difference. Again, veteran scars and juggernaut are really, really good mastery points, so I definitely fill both of these out. This is kind of where, below this is where it starts to get a bit fuzzy. So this is where you kind of have the choice of what you want to actually put your points into. Hardiness I would recommend because 5 armor is pretty good, and especially early as well. And I have put 5 points into magic resistance here, but this is the kind of point where you could take these 3 points out, or at least 2 points out, and put them in other places. Something like oppression is actually pretty good for someone like who uses O'Reilly's, or someone who like Shen who taunts them, because obviously they get the extra damage. Anyone who's got a reasonable reliant slow is going to have like use of this talent point, so you'd actually put it in here. This I still don't really like this at all, because 3 points so that you can get 3% of your missing health every 5 seconds is not fantastic, but if you're going to be sacking a lot of health, so say if you're going to be playing like Garen or Volibear, I would actually probably put points into here. This isn't too great, but again, if you're playing someone who has a lot of lifesteal or someone who has a lot of health, it's actually going to be useful. So this is just a standard page, but if you were to take these points, you take the 3 out of here, you take 1 out of here, and you put the 3 in the 1 there. Now this is actually really good. 4 armor and 2 magic resist for each nearby enemy champion. So if you're in a team fight and you're around all 5 champions, so you do 5 times 4, obviously that's going to be 20. So that's 20 armor and 10 magic resist that you get for like having the whole team around you. That's actually a pretty, that's actually quite a lot, and it's quite gold efficient as well to have this mastery. Lastly, Legendary Guardian reduces the duration of cooldown effects by 15%. So when you're going this far down, you pretty much want to pick that up anyway. That pretty much wraps up all the templates that I've got for all of the different roles. I haven't done a jungling one, but to be honest, looking at this Bruiser page, you could just take a couple of points out of this top row here, and you could put them into tough skin and bladed armor. So if you see the block and the unyielding are pretty much just laning masteries, whereas these two are jungling masteries. So you could just swap them over, and this will be definitely viable for tanky junglers. That pretty much wraps everything up though, and I hope you guys found this useful. Please let me know what kind of other Season 4 videos you want me to make. But as always, do check out the giveaway that I've just released as well. You can go like my Facebook, follow me on Twitter, follow my stream, and I'll catch you in my next video.